Hey friends, today I want to talk a little bit about a book called Creative Thinking by JG Bennett. At least one of the key concepts in it, which I think resonates a lot with the way I think about accessing the implicit parts of ourselves where ideas actually come from. I think my sentiment is that our thinking minds can't themselves have new ideas. I think Alan Watts said, if you keep thinking, you can only think about thought. And there needs to be something else that comes in that isn't thought, that is where creative ideas really come from. And this was really well conceptualized in this book, Creative Thinking. There's a lot to it, kind of theory that interlated into the book. But at the beginning, he lays down kind of a 3-step framework for what it takes to have creative ideas. And I just want to kind of step through that quickly now. And I've got my notes over here, so forgive me looking down. But the first step in creative thinking is to prepare the ground, as he says. So this means to live in the medium, to immerse yourself in the content of what you're trying to explore and have creative ideas about. So this might mean research, reading, conversation, whatever you would normally conceptualize as getting content into your mind, essentially. Now, normally what people tend to do is you do this and conflate this with the idea of having creative ideas. If I just go and read enough, then something will happen and I'll have something creative. But the idea of a new thought doesn't come from that. It comes from the next step, which is spontaneous insight. Now, spontaneous insight is where you essentially ask the implicit system to take everything that you've just been working with, all of that content, all the connections, all of the ideas, and come up with something new from all of that. Now, very clearly, you're not doing this. You're not thinking, well, how do I have an idea? Let me think of a new idea. Because you know very well that new ideas so often come up when you're not thinking about the issue. So in the shower, going for a walk, falling asleep. This is when the new ideas really come up, the eureka moments. But they're not done when you're looking at it intently. So how do you ask a question? How do you allow this thing to come up? And I just jumped ahead. You ask a question and then you wait for the answer. So what JG Bennett says, and I think this is informed by Gurdjieff, who I'll need to research at some point. But what you do is that once you've prepared the ground, once you've grounded yourself in the subject matter, you ask a clear question. Like the example he uses in the book is quite dated, but there was the conflict in Cyprus at the time. And his exercise for the audience, it's a series of lecture notes basically. His question is, what should be done about the situation in Cyprus? So you go away and research it, you do some reading, you read the newspapers, you follow along, you know what's going, you know the key concepts, the arguments on both sides, but you haven't got a solution. So you ask yourself, what is the solution to the Cyprus problem? And then you wait. You don't think about it. But you don't think about anything else either. So what he calls, or I think what Gurdjieff called, create a vacuum. You make a void for the answer to come into. Now in the book he suggests actually setting aside 5-10 minutes a day to sit quietly and not think about the answer to the question, what is the solution to the Cyprus situation, or whatever it is that you might be looking for a creative solution to. Now, importantly, this doesn't mean just watch TV, watch Netflix, or think about anything you like. That's not what it means. It means create a space. So you need to create a space that is defined by the thing you're not thinking about. So this is a space defined by Cyprus. It's a space defined by the solution to that problem that you're trying to solve. And then you wait. He likens it to that moment where you know that you've forgotten something, but you don't know what you've forgotten. What do you do in that situation? Well, you kind of sit there, you go, I've forgotten something. What is it? What's this part? What am I doing now? I'm creating a void that's defined by the question of, I've forgotten something, what is it? And then I'm waiting. I've left my keys somewhere, where are they? This thing. And then by doing this, you are facilitating the process of allowing ideas to come up. So you're not kind of at the whim of whatever your subconscious wants to give you. Like, here's an idea as you're falling asleep, here's an idea as you're going for a walk or in the shower. And those things are fine. But it is possible to actively engage with this process in this way. So the third step then is, once you've got the spontaneous insight that arises as if from nowhere in the space defined by the question, then the work is to translate that back into something that you can communicate. So if your medium is words, you would prepare the ground through words, you'd ask a question in words and wait, and then you'd figure out how to translate that probably formless insight back into words. And there's a layer, of course, of understanding in doing that, and remixing and reformatting and all that kind of thing. But there's a really important middle stage there of recognizing there's not you necessarily that has that truly original idea. Now, there's a whole lot of thought around, and I agree with it, that creativity is a kind of additive remixing process, that there's really no such thing as a creative thought. And there's a kind of creativity which is take that, remix it and put it out there, and now it's mine. And I'm a huge proponent of that. But there is a different kind. It is a possibility to have something truly original, I think. But that truly original thought will not come from the remix of that, and that explicitly. It may come from those things implicitly, where you suddenly see in a flash of insight, oh look, I hadn't seen before, but there's this thing, and this thing doesn't appear to exist anywhere. Now how do I put this into words? So this is the first chapter of the book Creative Thinking. There's a lot more on the back end of kind of theory and going deeper into this practice, but I thought that just that alone was a really interesting thing. And I often find myself now creating a void, or even working with coaching clients or others to say, okay, let's create a void for this thing, recognizing that we're habitually used to trying to do creativity, when actually there's a different approach, which is to intend creativity and then get out of the way and let the creative processes work themselves. So that's it for today. Thanks a lot, and see you next time.